Yo, what's going on, guys? And in today's video, I will be doing a review on the SH Figuarts Demon Slayer Tanjiro figure. Now, a little bit of a story of for how long I've had this figure. I bought this figure my birthday weekend, so May, I believe it was May 3rd when I bought this figure. Yeah, and I saw him at my Walmart, and I was like, oh, this actually looks pretty decent. It was my first time seeing any of the Demon Slayer figuarts in the store. Usually I see, I've seen the One Piece ones, I've seen Dragon Ball ones, I've never really seen the Naruto figuarts, but other than that, yeah, I've mostly seen One Piece and, Dragon Ball figuarts in my Walmart. I've seen the Naruto ones at my Target, So yeah, I've had this figure, and now this is what, we're in early July. I'm currently recording this at like 12 a.m. or like almost midnight of July 3rd. So technically, no, it's 11:58 right now actually. So yeah, yeah, it's almost the 4th of July, which is literally like in 2 minutes because I'm recording this video very late. But yeah, it's been basically 2 months I've had this figure. I've gotten to pose around it with the figure a lot. I've gotten to get a feel, and I think I gotta say, I really like the figure. I think it's cool that the figuarts line is pumping out more lines like the Demon Slayer. I really do like this show because it's a show that, while it does get criticized for people saying the animation, kind of carries the show, I still really like it. But yeah, so let's get started off with the overall looks and sculpts of the figure. You can see that this has the absolutely amazing figuarts articulation points, noticing all the different points of articulation within just the pants and stuff. But then this is where it kind of gets a little bit messy here on the back, because you'll notice, yeah, they kind of just sculpted this out in kind of in a weird way. Now, one thing I will say, that for the fact that this figure is $35 compared to maybe I think it's the Buzz Mod figure company that like does the other Demon Slayer ones that have like the cloth goods. I will say that's like one of the good sides about those ones. However, the only downside of on those ones is that you're paying a fortune for one figure. However, with the figuarts, obviously, for the more basic characters, they're going to put on that $35 price point. So yeah, I do like the overall painting and sculpting. Obviously, it's also got that classic figuart shading on it as well. Of course, he does have the hilt, or not the hilt, the sheathed sword, the hilt of the sword, which actually, when we get into accessories, you'll kind of see it, but yeah, it's got the one that Sengoku gives, not Sengoku, Senjiro, Rengoku, Kyojiro's brother, gives him after, he visits his home within the story. So yeah, it's very interesting to kind of see this kind of accessory, because you could have this because I think this accessory is kind of for later season Tanjiro, but still, you'll kind of see why I mentioned that. But you'll notice really good detail on the head sculpt there. Got the Hanafuda earrings. And again, it's one thing I also kind of dislike about the figure is the neck joint here. So you'll notice that the collar of the uniform is on here. So like if you turn it like that, it turns with it. And sometimes if you turn the head a little too much, you can get it to the point where it's like kind of like that. It does take a little bit to fix properly, but yeah, if you can get it to get that look, but sometimes it can be a little slanted and look a little off-putting. Other than that, yeah, the hair looks really good on this guy. The painting looks good on him. One thing I'd definitely love to see within the line, though, is maybe trying to introduce cloth goods on these. Because I believe, you know, if they gave the SH Figuarts Romance Dawn Shanks figure, you know, like a cloth goods, like, cape, because, you know, the figuarts line for One Piece particularly just loved giving all those figures non-cloth, like, goods and capes. I think it'd be cool if they inputted that into the Demon Slayer line, kind of like the Buzzmod figures have already. Inputted the cloth goods, kind of outer coats here. I think they're called, like, Haroris or something. I don't remember. But yeah, let's actually get into the scale of the figure. We'll get into the overall height and size of the figure. And from the top of his head, this Tanjiro is standing in about... From the very top of the forehead, it's standing at probably roughly around exactly 5 inches. However, to the top of the hair, the figure is standing at around 5 1/4 inches. So yeah, let's get into the accessories. So right away you'll notice for the accessories, you'll notice it does come with this kind of neutral face, as well as this particular kind of end, the sword that kind of pegs into the sheath. But he also comes with, I gotta open the little baggie of accessories here. But you also will notice he comes with the little part that does come with, that is the other sword. Which would make sense because he comes with 2 swords. The one with the like the Rengoku style part, and then the one where it's just the one he kind of started with. Not the exact sword he started with, but yeah. But then, for other faceplates here, you also got this happy expression with the mouth open. You got this angered expression with the teeth gritting. Then you just got this, like, attack type face, like he's screaming out an attack. For sets of hands, then obviously, if you got the open type hands, you got a set of, a set of these hands. You got a set, obviously, of the sword with a sword wielding like character. Obviously, you got to have 2 sets of the weapon wielding hands. You also just got clenched. You also have a set of clenched fists here, so if you want Tanjiro to maybe do some... Oh, what the... Okay, so if you want Tanjiro to go in some hand-in-hand combat, you can do that. But then you also have, like, these different, like, this dynamic pose type hands or something. I'm not sure exactly what you'd use them for, but again, it's still an option if you wanted to. Now, one thing very interesting about this particular sheath is that you have to put these in a specific way. So you can't just sit there and you can't just, try to attempt to push them in. For example, that there's a good chance you could break it. But if it doesn't go in right away, one thing you want to do is you want to flip it around and then just try, and then, yeah, you'll get it in. And that's what, the first one looks like. And again, you kind of do have to mess around with how weird all of the articulation's been cut for the Harori. But yeah, if you mess around with it enough, it will look good on display. However, let's talk about articulation. Oh, wait, before we do articulation, I want to show off how you change the faceplates. All you gotta do is you kinda gotta get behind the hair piece, And it is a little pokey, so I will warn anybody who wants to get the figure. But then all you do is you simply just pull off the face. And I would be careful again. It's got the earrings on there. It's a very fragile piece, so then here we'll kind of switch into the teeth gritting. Obviously, you just align it up that easy again. Careful with the earrings. And then you just simply line up the hair, push it on, and yeah, you'll notice it sits there. And actually, one really cool detail I like that they added is that you'll notice the scars are slightly different here. So you'll notice that all three of these faceplates have the same exact type scar. But on this one, it has it differently. And that's because at this point within the series, I believe, this is when we start noticing that his Mark, when he gets very, very angry, and he kind of goes for that final attack that kind of kills off whatever the main demon is, that's when the Mark kind of starts changing. So I thought that's actually a really cool detail that I actually kind of just noticed now. Yeah, so let's get into articulation here. So obviously, got the head. The head has good rotation, can look down that much. Head can also look back that much. Again, it's got a lot of good movements here. Again, you got nice joints, articulation there. Arm can do 360. It's got those beautiful butterfly joints there. Okay. Arm can go up all the way. Elbow can bend pretty good. I think a lot of people generally were worried that with how weird the Harori kind of drapes down would restrict the figure, but it doesn't really restrict the figure too much. Then, you know, obviously, okay, if we move this out of the way, the figure can split pretty good. Legs can kick up pretty good, as well as some nice back kick. Because the pants are so baggy, the knee bend is actually better than it looks like. But then for this joint, then we got instead of giving us kind of like this ankle movements, it just bends back, and you'll notice that there is a cut there's some cut back there, so it can move. Obviously, then we got ankle articulation, and of course the infamous figuarts toe articulation as well. And of course, obviously the sword, because it's you have to kind of peg the what's it called? Because you have to peg in the sheath. Obviously, you can get movement from that, but then if we look back at the cape, we get more articulation. So yeah, we can articulate. It's got, I believe it's on a ball joint. Yeah. That's on a solid little ball joint. Yeah, and you notice all three of them are. I'm sure that there's probably people out there that there's kind of like there's probably third-party companies that have already made like different things to maybe try to improve the figure, but I think as a whole, I think this figure has decent articulation. For the fact, I was very worried when it came to the figuarts line making Demon Slayer figures, because of the fact, you know, they're so restricting, and knowing figuarts, they're gonna not give cloth goods for these. I will say I'm excited to see what kind of demon characters they do, because I would love to see an Enmu figure, which Enmu is the demon who merges with the train in the Mugen Train movie. And then I'd also potentially love to see like Daki and Gyutaro as figures as well. Yeah, so now let's get into some scaling. So here he is next to the McFarlane Toys Inosuke. Now this is like one of the biggest issues I have when it comes to McFarlane's figures, is that the McFarlane figures are always going to be a little bit bigger than your figuarts and probably not as in scale as it should be with other lines. So you'll notice, yeah, this figure does kind of tower over him. If we just put them back to back here, you will notice, yeah, he's maybe one head or half a head taller. But then we have the Bandai Ultimate Legends, which these are like the cheaper. These are like the really cheap, like maybe $15 figures. And we have Inosuke here again, and you'll notice, yeah, because these are the cheaper figures, Inosuke is way shorter than Tanjiro. He looks like he's just a regular little kid next to Tanjiro. Then, if we compare this Tanjiro with some of the other figuarts versions of different main characters from different animes, here he is next to the, I believe this is the full power Super Saiyan Goku. So yeah, it's a, I feel like they'd probably, and then we have Naruto. And then last but not least, we have the Romance Dawn version of Monkey D. Luffy. And yeah, you'll notice he does scale pretty well. However, like, the figure does look to be a little bit, like, I think just because of the overall, like, baggy outfit and, like, baggy pants, he does look a little bit, like, bigger than some of the other characters, you know, like, overall when it comes to, like, the legs, because all these other characters kind of have, like, the more tighter style things, not as baggy as the Demon Slayer ones. But yeah, and then just to quickly kind of showcase the overall sword wielding. So yeah, we have the gripping hand here, and it's just really easy to slide in. And obviously, it's not going to have a loose grip once you get that in all the way. And you can also, I'm going to just put the second gripping hand on here because I'm sure some people might want to do this for different posing. But you can, here, I'm going to just, oh gosh. I didn't break the figure. Struggling to do this. And if you were curious, yes, you can get both gripping hands to hold the sword at one time. Or, of course, you can always have a little bit of fun with your displays. Because this guy does include two swords, you can obviously, you know, get Tanjiro with a little bit of dual wielding action here, maybe. So that's always a bit fun. But yeah, I will say that I think, you know, generally just having the Tanjiro alone probably isn't the best thing because, you know, I think Tanjiro is one of those characters where if you're gonna buy the figure for him, you might as well also get the figure they made of Nezuko. So I'm probably gonna also do that. I'm probably gonna get the Nezuko. Rengoku is probably one of my favorite figuarts version of the characters, or not. No, I don't know if they've announced a figuarts of Rengoku yet. But Rengoku's one, like, my favorite Demon Slayer character, so I definitely get a figuarts of him. If it's already announced already, I'll kind of see, kind of look at it and stuff. As well as, I'd honestly love to just get a full Hashira collection. So, like, Mitsuri, Giyu, Obanai, Muichiro, all of them. And, you know, I'd also love to get some of the Upper Moons. I'd even love to get a Muzan figure as well. Especially if they get him in that outfit that he wears from kind of his first appearance, where it's like the Michael Jackson looking outfit. I don't know, it's not Michael Jackson inspired, it's just that people called him Michael Jackson because of just the way he looked. But yeah. Yes, the Tanjiro figure. And I will say for the price point of $35, you're really getting a lot with this guy. Because not only are you getting 4 different sets of hands, so you're getting 8 hands in total, but you're also getting 4 different head sculpts. 4, not head sculpts, but 4 different heads. You're getting 2 different swords to put, 2 different like sword handles that go in the sheath, and then you're also getting 2 separate swords, which I think it's a really good bang for your buck here, because not only do you get basically like every Tanjiro accessory you need, but also because it's like one of the cheaper releases for $35, it means that you probably also have budget, you know, for Venezico. I will say this, one thing I think that they probably should do in the future is maybe release like a deluxe Tanjiro, where it comes with like, where like the box is also included, maybe giving us like some different head sculpts, or maybe give us like, you know how with this Monkey D. Luffy Romance Dawn figure, they made a whole like accessory set. They should do it this with Tanjiro. So we get like the box and maybe a few new head sculpts, and maybe like a few different, like, I'd say maybe like a few different, maybe even like some of his other swords, because I know he's gone through like a new sword every season. Maybe even like the half broken sword he uses in his fight against Rui. I think that'd be very interesting. But yeah, this was the Figuarts Tanjiro. Would I recommend it for you if you really wanted to get it? I'd say it's your money. Just spend it how you want. Just spend it on what figures you want to get. You don't have to buy the figures that are recommended as good. But I would definitely recommend it for anybody who loves Demon Slayer and the Figuarts line. But at the same time, if you also don't want to spend $35 that you could spend on maybe a better figure or more quality, or instead of spending that $35 on this figure, you could spend it, or not spend it, but save it for maybe like a more expensive figure in the Demon Slayer line, or like for a more exciting character other than just the main character, then that's also something you could do too. But the figure is good. I'm still gonna say it though, the Romance Dawn Luffy figuarts is still gonna be my favorite figuarts in the collection. This one might be a close second. So yeah, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.